Hello participants. So in today's session, I'm going to discuss about the Packet Razor, and I'm going to create a small project in Packet Razor so you will have a rough idea that how to use a Packet Razor. Moving on, okay. So let's start. Let me share my screen, and when you see, I've already opened Packet Razor. So by this time, you know how to install Packet Razor and how we can, if you're still struggling in installation, please go and ask your peers. They will help you in installation. So when you install it, same way, just write Packet Razor in the search and then this interface will appear. Okay. So now in this today's task, we are going to create a small network, right? Local area network. And we try to send using the routers and switches, as you have already completed course 2. So you might be knowing what are routers, what are switches, right? So sending a mail from one area, local area, to another local area. This is the task that we are going to do at the end. So let's do how we do it. So you can see this interface, and in this interface at the top most bottom, you can see the network devices. You can see all the devices, right? Switches, routers, and hubs, all the wireless devices. Now, after that, there are end devices as well. So PCs, laptops, servers, all the devices are there, right? So as a beginner, you just need to know there are so many things, but you should know the basic idea of this. So let's create a small network. So what I've done, I've clicked on this end devices, and then I've picked a PC. So let's take PC1, PC2, and let's create a PC3. So I've taken 3 PCs, and now, after that, let's create a switch. So for switch, I have to go to the network devices. It's the first icon when you click. And at the bottom, can you see routers, switches? So you can always go and put the switches, right? So I've put the switch. So you can put that switch. And when you hover over, you will see the configuration of the switch, right? Which configuration is there? What is the MAC addresses that it is having and everything, right? All the description is there. Now, let's connect this with the wire. So if you see this zigzag, this is for the connection. All right, so you can use this if you don't know which cable you are using. So it's basically the cable that we are connecting switches with the PCs. So just go to the switch, click it and drag the cable. That's it. So you're just making a physical connection. You've connected your one system with the switch. Same way, just go and drag it. Here it is. We are doing it. Same way, go and drag it. So this is it. Let's see how it works. Now, this is the one network we have created. Same way, let's create another network. So first of all, go to the end devices. Therein you have systems. So you can create 3 systems. 1, 2, 3, right? So I have these 3 systems. Now, after that, we have a network devices. So the network devices I'm using, then we have switches. So what we need to do, just drag and drop the switch, right? And you can drag and drop and get the switch. Same way, when you hover over, you will get the MAC addresses and downlink, how the switches will have it, okay? Now, after that, you just have to over and over, right? So if you see over and over, just connect this first, then second, then third, right? So what I've done, I've just created a physical 2 local area networks. One is this with one switch and second is this with other switch. Now I need to connect these two. So what I will use router for this. So as usual, go to the network devices, and at the bottom you will see router. All right, so you can have multiple options for the router. So I am taking 4113. right? So just select the router that is coming. So there are so many other routers, different functions and different, versions of the routers. Now I have to connect this router with the wire. Okay, let me connect this. Right. So when you are connecting this router, right, like this, with this, you are connecting this, right? So this is how you are connecting the routers. Now, after connecting the routers, what you did, now let's come back to the basic, of course, too. So if the network, if you want to send one message to another, the network, the computer should have its IP address, right? It should have its MAC address, right? And it should have a default gateway, right? So let's do and give these things to each and every device that is available. All right, so let's start with this PC1. I am randomly assigning any of the IP. So 192.168.10.2. Right, I have assigned this. I'm just typing it to make sure that when I'm doing it practically, it will not, to avoid any errors. So as a beginner, you can do it. I know that this system has an IP address because they are going to communicate with each other as an IP address, right? So then you have this 192.168 since it's a different network. So I am going to use 20, right? Dot 2. Then 192.168.20.3. Then 192.168.20.4, right? So these are the networks, IP addresses I have assigned. So let's assign it practically. Now, after giving the IP address, let's do that IP address practically. So just click over and over, click escape, right? Let's click here, sorry. And just click twice at the notepad. So how I get this place note, right? So if I want to write anything, I can just click on this place note and double clicking it, it will be removed. So now, what should now what should be we are doing? Now we will assign the IP address to the system. So let's assign the IP address. So here, just click, a pop-up like this will appear. And then you have this config desktop IP. So you have to click on the desktop. Therein you will find multiple options. So go to IP config. Therein, when you click on, you will find that IPv4 and static. So you have to provide the static IP address. So it should be 192.168.10.2. Make sure whatever you have assigned to that system, you are putting that same IP address just to avoid the confusion and errors. Right, and when you clicked on the subnet mask, it automatically pop up. You don't have to do anything. Now after that, the default gateway, if you remember, the first IP address assigned in a network is always a default, and the last one is the broadcast one, so we don't give it to anybody. So the default gateway is 192.168.10.1. right? So if you remember the previous concepts which I've taught you, right? So this should be like this, and that's it, done. So let's do it for this network. Double click, go to desktop, go to IP config, then go to 192.168.10.3, right? And this is the subnet mask, and default gateway should be 192.168.10.1, right? This is the default gateway. That's it. Let's do it for this. Double click, go to desktop and go to static and then put 192.168.10.4, right? And then default gateway 192.168.10.1, right? So this is how we have assigned the IP address, MAC address, and default gateway in one network. Let's do it for this network as well. Same, just click on the PC, double click on the PC, then a pop-up like this will appear, and then go to desktop, click like this, 192.168.20.2. I've taken any IP address randomly, so you can take it, any of the IP address. Then default one is always the first. So 20.1, right? So do this. This is the simple thing that we need to do. So go to desktop, go to IP config, then go to static. So 192.168.10. I think 2 we have covered, 3. So go to this subnet mask. The default gateway for this should be 192.168.20.1. So I've made a mistake here. It should be 20, right? Because it's this network. So same in this, just close this. Same way, you just need to check, go to desktop, go to IP address, and within this IP address, you will have 192.168.20. So since it's a fifth PC, so let's see where is the fifth PC. So we have fifth PC as 4. So let's say I've assigned 3. So it will say, okay, this address is already used in a network, right? So you have to use the different one, 192.168.20.4, right? This is the IP that we have assigned to this. Now, the default gateway is always the first IP address, normally, to avoid any confusion, right? That's it. Now, let's close this, right? So we have assigned the IP address, the MAC address, and the default gateway, right? So our simple network connection has done. So let's see whether it's working or not. Within the network, I'm checking, not outside the network. So here, how I can check the message you're sending? So go to add sample, just click and just sending message from 1, right? To this, checking the internal network. See, it is successful, right? Let's check the another network that whether we have done everything correct, putting the correct IP address, default gateway. So if you do any mistake, it will be fail. So let's do it. Good. Let's see whether I'm randomly checking, right? So my local area network is connecting. This is the first activity we have done. Now I need to send a packet from 10.2 IP address to 20.2, right? So they are all together in a different network. So for that, I have to configure my router, right? So how to configure your router? So simply just double click on your router. A pop-up like this will appear, right? Always remember when you are configuring the router, always try to put this symbol first. You're putting the ports to the router so that this is the hardware part with which, yes. So first, whenever you are clicking, you have to turn it off to drag. That's a simple concept that when you're putting a system, when you are assembling any hardware part into a system, you have to turn off the power. So that's it. So normally the power is on. So you have to turn it off. And then you can just drag this hardware part, drop it so that our switches can have a connection with this port. Right? And don't forget to turn it on. That's the simple mistake that we do always. So don't do it. If you by chance did not do it, so it will pop up that please turn on your power and then it will move on, right? But I have already turned it on. So the device is still booting and you have to wait. Okay. So click OK. And then go to config. Now what I need to see, I need to config my both the switches, right, to this router. So how I can see those switches in this? Okay, click OK. You just have to click OK. So here, if you can see, these are the ports that are available, which is connected. So I can see gigabit Ethernet 0 and 1. So how I get to know that this I have to put which network to? So when you hover over, all right, when you hover over here, uh, when you hover over, it will give you this port, right? So this is gigabit Ethernet 0, right? So this network will be in this port, right? So when you hover over, you also get to know. So I think this network is on this port. So what I have to do, just always remember, you have to turn it on. Right after turning on, you have to give it some time so that it can restart, and in the meanwhile you can put the default gateway of the switch. So I can see this 0/0 is connected with my 192.168.10.1 default gateway switch, right? And when you click on the subnet mask, it automatically appears. You don't have to do anything, but don't forget to turn it on. After that, go to Giga Ethernet and again turn it on, right? And here in the IP configuration, you can write 192.168.20.1 for the second network, right? So same way, you can find it out that Ethernet 0/01. Same way, just click on this over and over, right? And see, you can see Ethernet 00/1, right? So this is the network disconnected with this. That's it. We just have to do this. Now let's send the packet from A, IP address 192.168.10.2 to 192.168.20.2, right? So for that, I just have to select this, right? Put this here, right? And so I just have to put that message here. And let's see at the bottom what message we are getting. Can you see at the bottom? It is success, that you are sending a message from this PC to this PC as a success. But sometimes when you are connecting, there may be a chance that the message is not sended, right? It will give you a failure. There could be an option, right? So for that, what you need to do, uh, you just have to let me figure out and how you can resolve that. So if let's connect with this, right? So let's see. Sometimes it's progressing and it will fail. All right. So what you need to do for that, there might be a chance that whenever you're connecting first time, you will get this failure. So how to resolve that failure? Just see in this and just fast forward it, because sometimes router will take time, to connect. So it may give you the failure notice, and then after doing some fast forwarding, you can see you are sending message P to P4. So let me do that messages again. All right. So from P2, PC2 to PC4, let's do that connection again and see whether it is failing or not. So can you see it is, oh, P2 and P5. I put it in P5. So yes, whenever you are making a connection first time, you always have to fast forward. So try always to fast forward and then do it, right? So let me do that P2 to P5 again, right? See, success. And then P2 to P4 again. So it's success. So please be mindful. If you're getting this message of failure, do some fast forwarding and then again try to send the message. So this will be very helpful for you. Try this activity and do let me know whether it's helpful or not. Thank you so much.